Hello, in case you don't remember, my name's Ron Crick. I'm your father, and this is addressed to Mark and Michael. Granted, we haven't spoken, 15 years? So I figured I would address a couple questions and then make my own statement about what I wanted to say. First, why I wasn't at James' funeral. You seem to forget that the person who was quote unquote in charge of the funeral was the same person who wanted y'all to be fatherless, remember? She succeeded in helping another family be fatherless. All the police reports and everything pertaining to it up until the time the DA took it over, I left with Susan for you and Michael to read. That way you wouldn't have to go by what I say, what she says, what she implies, anything. Not to mention, according to her, I was not invited, which, in case you don't remember, in that part of the country, means if you show up, you're liable to be crawfish food. And since I was no longer a cop, that's enough said on that topic. Mark's wedding. I really appreciated being notified of your wedding 7 days before it actually occurred. That gave me plenty of time to go and find a gift and arrange to be off for almost a week or better, just so I could drive 1,200 miles and be snubbed by everybody there. Y'all, I don't know why you sent me an invitation in the first place, since nobody was talking to me anyway. Besides, my parents did as you wanted. They kept most of the details of everything. You and Margaret did secret. They never told me when Mark and Michael went to visit them. They never told me anything. They'd always ask me if I knew where either of you were, but they would volunteer no information. And it wasn't until my mother died and I was the executor of my estate, or of her estate, that I actually got some pictures, because Deb wouldn't let me have any pictures. Susan wouldn't let me have any pictures. Any pictures I had of you boys, I got accidentally because it had happened to be lost in my stuff. Any other pictures I got from my parents' estate when I went through it. So that being said, it's just as well I didn't come up, because if I had, I told you a long time ago that Christians are not supposed to marry non-Christians. And Margaret professes to be a Christian, yet she married you, a non-Christian. So that only leaves me to believe she's one of those church people. They like to say they are, but they're not really. How else would you express someone who pushes you always, always, always to break the 10 Commandments? She visited the house, 2 or 3 times, and then, oh, Mark, I don't like your daddy, so you're not allowed to talk to him anymore. How do you handle something like that? And Michael, why you went off and have got the attitude that you hate me like nobody's business is beyond me. I just don't understand it. So anyway, I'm doing my fatherly duty. I'm warning you of a danger. I know y'all don't know, don't care, all that other stuff, but the Revelation 12 sign comes up September 23rd, 2017. You can check some of Scotty's videos. I'll put the link below. And you can go check them out for yourself. I'm not going to sit here and explain it to you. You want to know, you go look. If you don't want to know, don't look. I don't care. I'm praying for all of you, but you decided to marry into the life you got. You don't want me part of it. I send you cards, I send you boxes, I make calls, I've even paid a visit to your house on several occasions. Nobody wants anything to do with me. You know, I never hear about anything. Margaret tells me, oh, Mark's glad that you taught him what you did, but he don't want nothing to do with you anymore. So, you let her speak for you, you let her wear your pants. Not my problem. So, anyway, like I said, look at the link, see what you think. And in case you don't know the math and can't do the math, sometime between now and this coming April, I believe Jesus is coming back for the bride. If you don't know what that is, watch some of Scotty's videos. A lot of kids complain that their parents dragged them to church every Sunday. Oh, my parents so bad, I had to go to church. You know, I raised y'all without it because I couldn't find a church that I thought was good enough. And I did the best I could. That's all you can do. But just like when you left home and you told me your plans of what you were going to do, I told you then what would happen on each part of the items that you listed. I told you what was going to happen, and they happened. And now I'm going to do that again. Since you're not saved, that means your house isn't saved. That means your child is not saved. Don't listen to the Revelation movies that say all the kids under 12 or under 18 are going to be raptured up. You know, ain't going to happen. Paul says if you're unholy, your kids are unholy. If you're not looking for the blessed hope, you're not going to get the blessed hope. Just plain and simple. You don't look to leave, you ain't leaving. You're going to stay here. And when you stay here, when the rapture happens, it is going to be hell on earth beyond anything you can imagine. You don't want God in your life? Fine. God's going to give you some time without Him. And you're not going to like it. First off, you can figure on Syria is going to launch a missile strike on Israel. They're going to blow something up around Shiloh. And Israel in retaliation is going to nuke the never-ending story out of Damascus. When that happens, Russia's going to launch a first strike on the United States. Kiss everything you know goodbye. Because when that happens, I don't know how many bombs the Lord's going to let blow up before the rapture happens, but there are going to be some. And when they blow up, the Lord's going to rapture us out of here, and everything's going to stop. You know, because when we get raptured out, the electronics are going to fry, and welcome to the Stone Age. You're going to be back in the horse and buggies. And I hope you have a horse and buggy, because that's all that's going to work. Except for what the military has. And then FEMA's going to come in and rescue you, along with the ETs and the aliens that are going to mysteriously show up and save the day. They ain't here to save the day. Believe me, they are not here to save the day. All the secret conspiracies that everybody mocked are going to come out in the open, and they're going to go to work. Every nightmare you could ever imagine in horror movies is going to walk the face of the earth. There'll be a spot 5 months long where you can cut yourself into a bunch of little pieces and you will not die. Not until the 5 months is up. And you are not going to like that. Let me tell you firsthand, it was bad enough when I was looking for work to hear you and the other boys, Michael and James, cry because you were hungry. That ain't nothing compared to what you're fixing to go through. So, I love y'all. I pray for you. That's all I can do. And I've warned you. So, God bless. I hope you come to salvation and you repent and everything works out. Because there ain't the only thing that's gonna save you is refusing to take the mark. As long as you refuse to take the mark, you got a chance for heaven. Michael, I am so glad to know that you were more than willing to take a child on that you thought was yours. And I was just elated. And when it wasn't, I understand you walking away from it. That's fine. I have no problems with that. I do wish you would hurry up and finish that court stuff up there in Michigan and get rid of them freaky people. Because there's nothing to be gained to being associated with a bunch of witches. So, and I do mean witches, real ones, you know. So, I love y'all. God bless. I'll see you in the next life, hopefully. Bye.